Hey Floss Tube, Ashley here, Buggy Stitcher on YouTube, Schleesem_Buggy Stitcher on Instagram, coming to you guys with finally the Wip Parade. Yay! I normally record this around December or the beginning of January and post it, have all of the parts posted by February, but with 3 kids, it's too crazy. But we are finally doing this. I have somewhat of an order that I will be doing this all in. But first, a disclaimer. So I just recently organized all of my cross stitch patterns and I did a count. And I believe I counted about 115 patterns. Now I did have more than that, but I let my mom come shopping and get some of my cross stitch patterns. So if you don't see something that you've seen on a previous Wip Parade, it's because I've either gotten rid of it or put it into my stitching library stash. I have a stitching library at my local library or a stitching group that I'm trying to get people to come to, and I bring all of this stuff for people to stitch, and then when they come back they can stitch on the same thing or they can pick a different pattern to stitch on, but it's just like a library for books except for cross stitch. And so I've destashed some of my patterns to put in there into the stitching library, and I've also destashed some to give to my mom or my nana or to friends because I have way too many. So I love all of my patterns, but I just don't have enough time for all of them. So there's one disclaimer, and then of course the second is this might be multiple parts because I doubt I'm going to be able to get all of the recording done all in one session just because of all of the kids, and I don't have a pause function on my camera. I'm going to be trying to show you guys as much as possible in the first session, and then we'll just see how the rest of it goes. I also am going to be trying to put these away as I go, otherwise it's going to be complete chaos, and trying to take out any hoops or needles as I do that, just because they all go missing even though I have like a bunch of them because I put them or keep them like on kits that I tend to stitch a fair bit on. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I have these somewhat organized. The first batch we're going to do is patterns that I don't normally stitch on very often, maybe like once or twice a year, or haven't stitched on in a long time for specific reasons, which we'll go over. I'm also not going to be mentioning anyone that I'm stitching anything with. I have a lot of patterns that I stitch with stitching friends, and the video I think would take too long if I sit here and name out all of the people that I stitch with. So I stitch with anyone and everyone who wants to stitch with me. Anyone, feel free to stitch along with any of the patterns that I have. I love to stitch with everybody and make cross-stitching friends. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in. We have 2 giant underbed storage containers right here and a medium one, and I'm hoping I can get through all of them. I also have a giant filing cabinet and another sorting drawer over here in my stitching area. But all of these ones that I'm about to show you, again, are ones that I don't think I stitch on very often. It's just kind of like a once in a while thing. Hopefully I have all of the pattern pictures for all of these, but if I don't, I'll let you know. And, oh, speaking of, I was gonna have my phone. Where's my phone? I was gonna grab my phone so I can show any pictures of any patterns. Oh, it's right there. Hold on. That way I don't have to do so much editing because I have pictures of all of my projects on my phone. Okay, let's get started. So first one is a stamped kit that I purchased. It's a 38 by 48 11 count, and it's a silk kit. I only have 3 silk kits total. This one I haven't started, of a watercolor girl, and then one of a ginormous line, which you'll see later. Okay, I have not gotten very far. Here's the whole thing. This pattern, so I originally started at full cross right here, realized that it's very messy, very messy, the stitches are, and the stitches are fraying, and I just wasn't liking it. But since this year I switched everything over to tent, including my stamped kits, tent stitching or half cross stitching, whatever you want to call it, since doing that, I tried it on the silk and I love it. I absolutely love 10 stitching, half stitching, half stitch, half cross. There's so many different names for it. I love it. I have switched and converted all of my stamp kits over to the 10 stitch because even if they have full cross on them, because once you pull it back here, you can't tell. You can tell when you're first like staring at it, but other than that, you can't tell the difference between the full cross and the counted. So, but since trying that, look at those stitches. Those, oh man, they started working out so much better and so much cleaner, and it's easier to stitch the silk with the full 6 strands of thread. It's genius. I don't know why I didn't think about it before or know about it before. So anyway, that's this one. Again, I've converted everything over to tent. I'm using 6 strands on this one. It is an 11 count kit. And yeah, loving it. It's just, I don't stitch on silk very often, which is why it's in the not stitched very often pile, because I just don't stitch on it very often. Okay, next up, we have technically started this one, but I haven't gotten rid of, I've stitched on this barely, I think only for like a stitch with me. So here's the pattern right here. Now, my husband loves the Northern Lights, and I got this pattern to stitch for him, but unfortunately the stamping is just not very good, and I'm going to show you that right here as soon as I show you what I have technically done. Oh, I guess I haven't done any of this. Look, it's blank. Just kidding. But I will talk about it anyway. So there are some stamped kits that are in this bin that I really love and would love to stitch, but the pattern stinks. Like, it sucks. The stamping on it makes it hard to stitch on. Either it would give me a headache because it's so blurry, or maybe the lines are misaligned. This is one of those patterns, and I'm going to show you right here. This is supposed to be just a red forward slash. But there's like showing up as 2 lines, which is like right there is like what I see. And it just ends up being super blurry and makes it really hard for me to like look at. So this is a kit that I've kept because I want to stitch on it so bad, but I just don't know. Like I can't seem to get rid of it because, maybe one day I'll just tackle it and it won't like bug me. I thought about picking it again in like a collab to see if I can get it, because I would love to have like a pattern like this, but I just, yeah, the stamping's not good. So yeah, apparently I haven't started that, but I thought I had put some stitches into it, but apparently not. So that's actually in the wrong bin. I have a bin for things that are like not started or would like to start, which I'm not going to be showing in this video in the Wip Parade. But yeah, okay. Next up, we have Baby Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. This one doesn't have a very good pattern picture, so I'm going to show you the pattern picture. And it is right here. Also, excuse my phone. My phone is old and cracked. But there's the pattern. And I love this, and my kiddos love Stitch. But it's 14 count, and I'm not very good with 14 count. I'm just not, I prefer 11 count for sure. But I think I just tried to start stitching this and switched it to tent stitch to see if that would help, and it looks like it has, and I'm getting full coverage on, like good coverage on it. So I will show you. I'm not nice with my kits. My kits are like used, very used. So here's the full thing. And again, I don't want to get rid of this because I eventually want to do it. It's just a matter of like having the time to do it, or like the gumption. looks like that needle is stuck on there. Okay, this is all that I have done as far as like full cross, but I recently picked it up and started doing the eye in 10 stitch. I still have like a fuzzy clip. So yeah, and the eye is looking really good in 10 stitch, and it looks like, let me count how many threads I was using. 1, 2, I was using 5 strands. I don't think 14 count needs that many. I think I've decided that 4 strands works okay, 10 stitch, but this is black, black thread that I'm working on right now, so that has a harder time showing up. So that's probably why I used 5 strands. There's that one. So that one's 14 count, and I switched it over to 5 strands, 10. And I don't think, like I said, I just organized these, and some of them I don't know if I've actually started. Okay, so it's this one I haven't started. Okay, this next one is a Joy Sunday. We have Noel. Also, if you're new to my channel, I do stamped kits, counted, full coverage, all of the above. I stitch on anything and everything. I don't give preference. Well, actually, no, because I like stamped kits, but I also love my full coverage, but I also love counted. So I'm just like all over the place. So this is all that I've gotten done on this girl so far. We have this, so it's normally like green, but I've stitched the red here on this motif, and we have some of this motif done. I think we only have like a little bit of the metallic, which this one was my first experience with metallic, and I was trying to decide if I should do 1 strand or 2. And I think this top one is 2 strands, and it seems to look okay, but I was really struggling down here with it, the stitches looking good. There we go, let's see if it'll focus. There we go. So my stitches look very messy, but up here they looked okay, so I don't know what that is about. So, but this is 14 count, Joy Sunday. And it looks like the top stitches are super nice because it's only 1 thread. So maybe I should just do 1 thread with this one. Probably a good idea. I really like my stitches to look somewhat neat. I mean, I'm by no means a nice stitcher, but that bottom motif was looking a little sloppy. Okay. Next up we have my Lord of the Rings pattern. This one doesn't give a good photo, so let me find you a photo. If I have it. Yep. So this kit is this image, which is from Lord of the Rings. It's all like the hobbits and Gandalf going over the ring bridge with the Eye of Sauron. No, the Eye of Mordor. And you also have the black guys down there. Anyway, so this is an 11 count stamped kit. It's 40 by 50. And I really would love to see this finished, but again, it's kind of like the Northern Lights where it's just super fuzzy stamping. So I haven't worked on this, I don't think at all this year, but I would eventually like to get it done just because I love the artwork. So it's really struggle bus city. But here's the whole thing. And I've got Gandalf done, and I started working on some of the hobbits last time I left off. But it's just, I mean, I'd love to stitch on this and have it hang on the wall. I absolutely love it, but it's taking a lot to stitch on just because the stamping isn't very good. For example, and this was one of my very first unboxings, so there is that. They've gotten a lot better at stamping since then, but it's just so fuzzy. So I can't tell if those are circles or if they're like forward arrows. It's just, and it looks better on camera than it does in person. But I think I just need to sit down with the pattern, with this, and work it out because, like I said, this is a really good kit, like, image. It's really good artwork, and I'd love to have it on the wall. Again, another one that I've debated on just like ordering another one, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't like to unbox something that I've already unboxed. But I mean, it would be good to know, like, if you order another one, like, if it ends up looking better or if it was, you know, stamped in the same, like, way. Okay, next up. Let's see if this gives a good photo. I don't think it does. Let's see. Nope, it doesn't. So this one is a custom kit that I had created. I was going to stitch this for my fairy sal that I am doing. Where it's just, well, you stitch a fairy, basically. And it's a beautiful, beautiful artwork. And I had this custom created, but I stitched a bunch on it, and then I didn't like the headdress. The headdress is like her headgear. But when my mom and I were organizing my cross stitch stuff, I realized that I haven't actually finished the headdress. I just kind of gave up on it midway stitch, which isn't really fair for stamped kits. When you're stitching stamped kits, you really need to finish the whole area that you're working, the whole like detailed area that you're working on, and then a little bit around it, and then step back to determine whether or not it has enough detail, because a lot of times just like one symbol will make or break a stamped kit, and so you really need to stand back. But I didn't give it its justice. I didn't give it its time in the spotlight, so I need to really finish the headdress and really figure out if I want to keep this kit or not. This is a full, like a really big kit. It is a 50 by 70. And so I've done this part, which is all background of the trees in the sky. And then here's the headdress that I've done. But there are a lot of holes. Like all of the red symbol, yeah, there's just a lot of holes. I'll show you the back because stamped, it's hard to see what you have and haven't done on stamped. So see, there's lots of holes in there. And so, like I said, I need to just suck it up, buttercup, and stitch some more on this to see if it truly is like gonna be good or not. Yeah, I need to just suck it up. But it's frustrating, and you all probably know, you know, if you do have stamped kits, or if you're, or just in general, if you're stitching a pattern and you're taking the time to stitch it, you want to be able to see the detail. Like, you just want to be able to see it. You're not going to spend all this time stitching on something and have it look like garbage on your wall, or just look like garbage in general, because you're just going to be mad stitching it. So it's a stinker. Okay. Next up is kind of another situation where I had a custom kit created at the same time. This one, again, the photo does not do it justice. So, and it's another 50 by 70, it's another big kit. But this one I had custom created. And I've gotten as far as like finishing this little fairy up here, and I didn't like that you can't tell that it's like a fairy, which I should have known better, because stamped kits, I mean, getting that much detail in the face of a small tiny little fairy, probably I should have known better. But I finished that part and I was like, and I'm frustrated. But I've kind of since determined that's like, well, I don't really need to see that fairy, it's fine. So I've kept her. And she's just so big. Like I said, it's a 50 by 70, 11 count stamped kit. And here's the little fairy that I've done. So you can see her ears, and you can see like that there should be kind of like a face there. But the way that the fairy is, I think it would be okay even if I didn't see a face, because you can tell she's a fairy. And if you can't tell she's a fairy, then it could just be like a little like wisp, you know, from kind of like Brave. So I'm okay with it now, and I do want to start working on her It's just, I just came to that realization. Just like last week, no, like 2 weeks ago. So anyway, she will be stitched on more. Okay. I'm trying not to show you guys stamped kits that I've only done like the unboxing video and stitch with me for, because that's like less than 100 stitches. No one wants to see that. And if you do, then maybe next Wip Parade I'll show it. So I guess leave a comment down below if you want to see the stamped kits that I have that only have like 100 stitches in there. Because I do have a fair bit of those, but I'm trying to just not take up all of the time doing those. So okay, next up we have my other silk kit. This was one of my very first like silk experiences, and also one of my very first purchases of a stamped kit. So this is my silk lioness. She's beautiful. That picture doesn't do her justice, so I will show you the picture on here because she is pretty. So she will be absolutely stunning when I actually get her done. But again, it's a 50 by 70. I've learned a lot over the years where I don't necessarily like to go 50 by 70 for certain patterns. So if they have like a lot of small details in them, like, excuse me, like someone's face or like books or something that I need to see like very good detail, then I'll go bigger because then you'll get that detail. But for something like this where it's just leaves and a lioness face, like I don't need a 50 by 70. I just don't. But I did work on her a little bit this year, and there is some nostalgia in this kit just because it's one of my very first purchases. And it's gotten super soft over the years, and I just love it. But it is silk, and silk is kind of hard to stitch with. But since determining the whole tent stitch thing, I don't even know if I have any tent stitching on here. Let me see. No, so it looks like I discovered the tent stitch after my last stitching session on this, so I might pull this back out and stitch on it with the 10 stitch, so that way it's better. But here's what I've gotten to so far. Again, this thing is huge. She's really, really big. But we have like a little bit of a leaf background, and I've worked a little bit of her forehead and a little bit of her eye. That eye's not finished. There's a couple pieces kind of missing in there, but it's almost finished. And once I stitch everything else and pull her back, she'll look really good. That eye will look really good and pop. But all of this is full cross so far, and I definitely need to switch her over to 10 stitch and actually get some like decent progress on her. And one thing I really like about doing these Wip Parades is I really get to look and like pay attention to the projects that I do have, because it's like I didn't want to stitch on her when I was organizing things. But now, like, I'm showing you guys, and it's just, I don't know, it just brings back all of the good memories of like cross stitching and my original stuff and starting my channel. And yeah, it just makes me really want to stitch some certain patterns. It even smells good. It just smells homey. I keep a lot of my patterns in really big, like 3 gallon Ziploc bags for like the 50 by 70s, or just gallon Ziploc bags for a normal size, like 40 by 50 kit. And that tends, when you do that, it tends to take on the smell of your house. And so it's just kind of like, you know, when you go on vacation and you come back and it's just like, home. That's this. Okay. Sorry, I'm being all like mushy gushy. Okay. Next up, we have a seasonal stitch. This is a fairly recent unboxing for this year, but I put it in the like don't stitch on very often because I feel like this is just going to be something that I pull out kind of once or twice a year. But we got some little gnomes, and they're super cute. It's like, I love fall, and I do. Fall, autumn, whatever you call it, is my favorite season. I love the feeling in the air, the cool, crisp days, but not super rainy, and I love like all of the weather and the color of the leaves changing. So it's the 40 by 50 11 count stamped kit, and I'm using 6 strands tent stitch, and we've got a little bit of the brick wall, a little bit of a leaf, and I was just starting on this first gnome's hat when I stopped. So again, it will just be like a pull out every once in a while, but I really like this kit. So it will be anytime I'm feeling like an autumn stitch, it's definitely gonna get pulled out. All of my 11 count stamped kits are stitched 6 strand tent because the kits call for 3 strands, so I just doubled that to do half the amount of stitches, if that makes sense. Next up, we definitely have an oldie, and you're gonna see that when I show you this picture. And so this is my pattern picture. It's got water damage on it because this is actually my camping stitching pattern. I take this pattern with me anytime I go camping, and that's the only time I work on it. And I just love it for that reason. I love my little chubby birds. I love cherry blossom trees. I love this pattern. But it is my camping kit, and it will stay that way. And the last time I stitched on this has been full cross. I have not gone camping since switching everything over to tent stitch. So here's the whole thing. It's a 30 by 40. And so I guess this technically hasn't been converted over to tent stitch, but it will the next camping session that I have. So you got your cute little finch on there. Super cute. He's so chubby. We got a little bit of a cherry blossom and right there. But again, not very much. This was one of my very first purchases. I just don't have a whole lot of time to go camping very often because the kids have sports and we're always so busy. When we're not busy, you know, we just want to sit and do absolutely nothing. You know. You all know how it goes. Okay. Let's see. All right, next up we have Harry Potter pattern. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I've started like a Harry Potter sleeve tattoo. I still haven't read the stories. So when I say Harry Potter fan, I'm strictly basing everything off of the movies. The movies are very nostalgia for me. Nostalgia. They bring back very good, happy memories from my childhood, and I watch them several times a year. But I just recently purchased the first audiobook for the first book. We own all of the books. I just don't have enough time to read without being distracted or, you know, thinking or about a grocery list or something. But when I listen to an audiobook, I'm able to zone out all of that like thinking and just concentrate on the voice that's talking to me, which is really cool. So I just recently got the first one, so I am going to start listening to the books finally, so I can compare the books to the movies. Normally books are better, but Harry Potter, the movie series will always, or the movies will always have that special place in my heart and on my skin. So anyway, again, very mushy today apparently. Here is this pattern. This was a custom created pattern that I had made. It's a 40 by 60 11 count stamped kit, and unfortunately I just had a bad run of like custom created kits. I ordered kind of these all at the same time. This one is a little bit fuzzy. It's definitely not as like crisp as some of my most recent stampings, but it is good enough. I also haven't converted this over to 10 stitch because I haven't stitched on it since I converted everything over. So here is the whole thing. And I recently, so I did Hogwarts, or started Hogwarts up here, and then I came down and did some of this background stitching in here because I wanted to start seeing some of this come to life. But yeah, so my next session on this will definitely be 10 stitch. I just, yeah, need to stitch on it. It's just not quite as clear of stitching. The stamping isn't quite as nice. For example, let me see if I can get this in frame. So right here is supposed to be like a yellow or orange like lineups up and down, but then right here it's like a red little cross, and they both look exactly the same in person. So it makes it kind of hard to stitch on. Alright, there's that one. And I have to open this one. So I have this kit that my husband got me, which is super pretty. And I'm pretty sure I've started it, but I'm not positive. So I just gotta pull it out and look really fast. I have started this. So this is a 14 count stamped kit, a Joy Sunday. And I did start this on 10, doing 10 stitch, and it looks like I was using 4 strands. And the coverage is really good. So here's the whole thing. 14 counts tend to be smaller because you can fit more detail because they're smaller stitches. And that's the progress that I've gotten so far. And the coverage is really good with the 4 strands, and it's blending nicely. So yeah, I just need to get this one out. Again, this makes me feel like an autumn-y type like vibe. So I tend to pull it out, or will probably pull it out when it comes to you know, stitching something that gives me that type of, I don't know, I need some warm feelings. Okay. Oh boy. Okay, so there's a story behind this one. So next one is Treasure Island by Owl Forest Embroidery. This was a 2023 stitch along where they released a new section every month. I don't know if I have the finished like picture of this. Let me see if I even have the picture of like where I was when they released it. I'm not sure. I do. Okay, so here is where I was, or the last photo I took of the pattern. Everything has since been released and finished. But here's the thing. So here's where I got to. This was on 14 count Fiddler's Ada, and I've done all of this, and I love this part. But the pattern started releasing a bunch of characters down the side, and characters that I thought didn't necessarily need to be on the pattern. I understand they are basing the pattern off of the book, and there's lots of characters in the book, but I felt like the pattern could have had more sea creatures and stuff like that. So I stopped it. I got a little frustrated with that part of the release because up to this point I was loving this pattern, and there are some sea creatures on the releases and the really big ship, and there's some details of this pattern that I really love, but all of the people I didn't think were necessary. I wanted to see more sea creatures, or like a bigger parrot, or just bigger sea creatures, I guess. So I stopped this, but I don't have the heart to UFO it. So I've thought about maybe trying to chart up some bigger sea creatures myself and changing the chart. But it's like I've spent so much time on this guy, like I don't want to have to think about charting up something else to make him something that I love. But I do love what I've done so far. It's just I didn't want to. Or maybe what I'll do is I'll just finish this big ship and put a couple sea creatures at the bottom with a little bit of sea, and then call it good like right here, and just not do the rest of the pattern and call it like a half pattern. Maybe that's what I'll do, because like I said, I love it, what I've done so far, but I just didn't love the rest of it. So maybe that's what I'll do. Poor thing. I was loving it and enjoying it until that happened, and then I was just, no, I'm not doing this. Life is too short. I haven't started this one, but this is the other silk kit I was talking about, Watercolor Girl. She'll be beautiful, but I just haven't started her. because I have 2 other silk kits, and I have a bunch of other like watercolor girls I need to finish before I wanted to start her. So she will be started, just not for a while. Okay, that is it for this first container. I'm just shoving everything back in this container really fast so we can get started on our next one. There we go. Almost have them all back in there. These containers are very heavy. It's two-sided. It's a two-sided Sterilite container that has wheels. I'll show you in just a second. Oh, it's just so stinking heavy. Ugh. So here is the big container that I just showed you. And so what I did is I put like a little tag on there, and then wrote exactly what's like in, not necessarily the patterns that are in here, but like the category. So this is like don't stitch often. Okay. There we go. Okay, sorry if I bumped you. All right, our next category is counted projects that I don't want a UFO, but don't necessarily stitch very often, just when the mood arises. So, first one is my Pokemon first generation. Lord Libin released this for free, so it is on their website if you are interested, along with other generations. So I was stitching this and I love this pattern, but I've also heard a lot of complaints with the Pokemon not being the correct color, or being like too, just not quite like right. Like Jigglypuff being like a little bit of a green, or, you know, instead of like full on pink. So with a free pattern, it's fine. I didn't pay anything for this pattern, so if there's like a little bit of discrepancy, that's fine, or I can change it myself as I'm stitching it. But I have since gotten some Gen 1 Pokemon like stamped kits, and so this one's just kind of been pushed to the wayside. However, I do want to continue stitching this. It's not really on my priority list right now. So the pattern itself comes with a blue background, which you can't really see very well from my printout, but it is blue. I did change it to be green because green is my color for Pokemon starters. So here is where I've gotten to so far. This is stitched 2 strands on 22 count tent stitch. I changed the blue background to be green, and I also included Krennic in my stitching for any Pokemon that is like my favorite, to kind of make it like a holographic look. So I don't know if I can get the camera to like show, but it is holographic in her like fur and her hair. I love how like the details of this one and how it is turning out. I just happened to kind of put it off to the side because I was missing colors, and then I happened to get that other stamped kit, and so I just kind of stopped. But I will tell you that this is stitched 2 strands 10 stitch, but for the black outline, I wanted the black to be a little bit more prominent, so I did change the black to be 3 strands. So keep that in mind. Love this one. Like I said, it's just not quite my priority right now, but I'm not gonna get rid of it. I love this pattern. Next up, we have I think this was my very first like counted purchase. And it's Red Mermaid by, let's see, I lost the mic. I'm not very gentle with my stuff. My kids more so are not very nice to my stuff. This is RTO, I believe. Let me see. Like I said, I keep a picture of everything in here. So I just have to find her. Maybe. Nope, I guess I just like left a picture. I think it's an RTO kit, which is a Russian company. She's beautiful, absolutely stunning. The problem with this is that she is a Russian kit, so everything mostly is in Russian. You do have like an English translation, but this is also, this being my very first counted purchase and me being new to stitching, it's got blended threads, half stitch, quarter stitch, back stitch, full cross on dark fabric that's not gridded or griddable, and so I had to line grid with thread, and so there's like a lot of pieces there that are just like that, and the way the thread comes is based off of card number. So you have your card number right there, 1, and then you have 1 through 15. So I had to go through and try and color on the symbols on here, because then you have like number 2, 1 through 15, and that just makes it harder to stitch on like that. So anyway, there's a lot going on with this pattern that I need to change, I think, to make me want to stitch on it, because she's beautiful. Absolutely the best mermaid counted pattern that I've seen ever, in my opinion, and I just don't want to stitch on her because she's just so much, like too much going on. So this is what I've done so far. I've thought about changing her to be like a lighter colored fabric, but then the pattern uses some of this dark fabric in the actual pattern, so I can't do that. So I have, like, anytime I have picked her up, I've put like a piece of white like blanket or something on my lap so I can see the holes easier. But again, it's all of those blended threads and all of those small little details where I'm just like, I can't. Ugh. Not while I have little kids. There's just no way. I have a very hard time focusing as it is to stitch. And then, yeah, so when you have metallic threads and blendeds and you don't know which is tint and everything is just blah, 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 and a paper pattern. Ooh, bad decision. So anyway, there's that. Next up, we have a Heaven Earth Designs pattern. I call her my D&D girl. I love her. I absolutely love her. I just happen to be stuck in a very bad spot for stitching her, and I've thought about moving. I don't know why I haven't. Ever since I got stuck in her forehead stitching skin on white fabric, I just can't. I can't pick her up right now. So she's still in kind of a timeout. She is stitched on 18 count Aida using 3 strand tent. This is one of my favorite pieces of 18 count Aida, and unfortunately I don't remember the brand that I got this, because I absolutely love it, but I don't know where I got it from, which is sad because I really love this fabric specifically, and I want this fabric to be all of my fabric for 18 count. So if you ever struggle with that, there you go. There's a struggle bus for you. So here's where I am at. Last time I picked her up, I tried to do a couple more stitches in her forehead and then moved over to background. And I do love her little like gems and everything in her hair. I've tried to stitch some of her eye, but I'm stuck in this rut where I'm just on skin, hair, or background. And not today. Not today. I'll finish her eventually, but not today. So she's just kind of stuck, which is sad. All of my patterns deserve to be stitched on. I just can't get myself to want to stitch on her for some reason. That's probably why. Let's see. Okay, next up, what do we have? All right, next up we have a little book sleeve that I made, and this is actually a Mill Hill kit. So I asked my husband to get me some Mill Hill kits to try them out, and he did. So this is the flower shop, and you know, I've tried it. And I don't want to veto it, but I don't like stitching on canvas. You can't put it in a frame. I take that back. I recently saw a release for a canvas frame, but they're very expensive. And so I should have converted this over to be on fabric. I still might, which is why I haven't continued stitching this, because I haven't decided if I want to continue it on the canvas or if I want to start stitching it on fabric. So what I did to make it a little bit easier for me stitching is I put some tape all the way around the outside, minus this one because this one's smooth. But this was very scratchy and hurt when I was like stitching, so I put tape on it as my like little border. I do love this. I really have to be in the mood. Again, I can't grit it because it's not fabric. I guess I could probably use like a pencil, but I don't know if it would show through or not. But yeah, stitching in hand is definitely not my favorite. So I do have some other Mill Hill kits that I haven't started. Just because I want to finish this one first. But I think my next Mill Hill kit I will switch over to fabric, so that way I actually want to stitch on it. Next up we have a Heaven Earth design. This is a mini pattern. This is let's see, Mini Nocturne. Beautiful artwork, absolutely stunning. She reminds me of like a living person tornado, like a tornado goddess or something. Anytime I have a nightmare, I have a tornado in the nightmare 9 times out of 10. And so I thought this would be just, I don't know, beautiful on my wall to like look at and think about, because I don't know why I always have tornadoes in my dreams, but I do. So this is stitched on 28 count even weave, 2 strands tent stitch. I have a kind of a hard time stitching on 28 count lately, and I think that's just a focus thing with, you know, kids being around and running around. It's really easy to miscount because the holes are smaller. But I've gotten a fair bit of the background done on her, but I haven't picked her up in I think almost 2 years now, which is really sad because I really love the artwork. But again, I'm just kind of stuck in background and it being 28 count. I think this is, I don't know, maybe 2,000 stitches. Let's see, because I have thought about starting her over on like a bigger piece of fabric, thinking maybe that would like help me out. Bigger meaning like a 18 count or something. I'm 5% right now and I have 3,549 stitches done. So really, I tend to decide if I'm going to restart something over once I hit like the 4,000 mark. For some reason, that's like my number. If I'm past 4,000, I won't restart it. But this one, like I said, I really love the artwork, but I'm just kind of stuck trying to decide what to do with her. So, and I do want the artwork and the cross stitch, just in general, on my walls. So yeah, I'm just forever in that what do I do stage. And until I can decide, she's just stuck in her bag. So there's that. Next up we have another Heaven Earth Designs pattern. This is a Sheena Pike. So I bought this little dragon for my daughter and I have a blue one for my son. I haven't gotten another one for teeny tiny yet, but for some reason I really struggle stitching this. Getting into it. I think it's because it's not full coverage. It's just not. And so I just struggle stitching on it. This is where I've gotten to, and I have started this project on like several different counts of fabric. I just can't seem to get into it for some reason. So this is all I've got, which I think is only like 200 stitches maybe. So maybe if I was to switch it over to like a bigger count fabric, that would be something. But again, I think I just kind of struggle. It either needs to be counted like completely not full coverage or counted full coverage, but this like in between where there's like lots of full coverage like inside the dragon, I think I struggle with. So she hasn't been touched in over 2 years as well, I think. Or maybe she was touched last year at the very beginning of the year. But yeah, I just can't. For some reason, I can't. Okay, Next up we have my little hamster, which is super cute. Let me find the pattern picture for you. I think this was a Mania start last year, May Mania, I want to say. If I can find the picture of a G hamster. Maybe, maybe not. Why am I not finding it? That is frustrating. Nope, apparently I don't have a picture of her. Oh, maybe I do on like the pattern keeper. Sorry. Trying to find this picture for you guys. I don't want to have to do a bunch of editing, which is why I'm trying to show you the pictures on my phone. Here we go. View PDF. This is an Al Forrest embroidery. It's a little hamster, a sewing hamster, super cute. But it was a Mania start, and that's pretty much as far as I got on it. It wasn't the Mania stitching. I haven't done any other stitching on him. But I have at least gotten his little face done, which is super cute. This is a piece of 19 count fabric that I hand dyed myself. It was supposed to be 18 count, but once I got it and checked everything, it actually ended up being 19 count, which makes it really confusing when you're trying to pick how many strands to use, because one strand is almost too thin, but 2 strands is too thick. So it's kind of like this in between. But here he is, he's super cute. And we got a little bit of lace work right here that has a really hard time showing up. I can see it in person, but on camera it's really hard to see. But yeah, I just haven't done any more on him since Mania. And he's just kind of been hanging out. My little hamster. All right, next up we have it was a Christmas in July start, I believe. Again, this is a 19 count that I hand dyed myself. Same situation. It was just a piece of that really big fabric that I got that ended up being 19 count instead. And this pattern is, let me pull it up. This is by Happy Mood Point Cross Stitch Studio. There we go. Super pretty. But again, I started it for Christmas in July and just never picked it up during Christmas time. Although Christmas time, I was in the process of starting a million things before No New Starts, because that's the opposite of what No New Starts is, but that's just what I was in the mood for. So here is the whole thing. Not going to be like as big as this fabric, obviously, but I decided to use $9.39 on this one. No, I'm not using $9.39. Is this $8.23? No, this is $8.03. I'm using the color 803 in this one. So, not a very big start, just because it was started for Christmas in July, but a start nonetheless. Okay, next up we have, let's see, this is Heart and Home Patchwork. And let me see if I can find the pattern. So I was like, I know I have it somewhere, but it's a Blackbird Designs. And I have not gotten very far on this pattern at all, unfortunately. But this is 18 count Fiddler's Ada. And this is where I've gotten to. I'm using 2 strands, full cross on this one. So, this one I did change the colors from the call before. I'm also using 3041 and a couple of others. So this one I'm changing, I think, the alphabet letters to be 3051. I had to change one of the colors to be 3033. And then I am also doing 768. So I'm changing the letter colors to be like purple and blue and green to kind of like make me feel like all my favorite colors. But yeah, I need to pull this one back out. I completely forgot about this pattern until just now. Which is, yeah, pretty sad, but it is what it is. So yeah, very pretty pattern. It is going to be very, very big. I am stitching it all on one piece of fabric, I believe. The whole thing, I think, is how I decided to do it. Well, I guess we'll see when I get further along. Okay. Next up we have a fairly newer start. This is Merry Christmas, designer Arena. This was purchased off of Etsy. There we go. Merry Christmas. It's got the little gnomes and all of my favorite colors and Christmas trees and snowflakes, and I just really love this pattern. But I haven't felt it since I picked it up the first time. And this is that 19 count Aida that I hand dyed myself. So here's the fabric. I'm using 2 strands full cross on this. Again, I didn't get too much started on it, but I do love the pattern, and it will be stitched, I'm sure, next Christmas. Hopefully next Christmas will be a little less crazy. Or maybe for, ooh, Christmas in July. That's what I'll do. I'll stitch on it for Christmas in July. All of my Christmas patterns. I'm just gonna get them all out. Christmas in July for everyone. Okay, next up we have a Mania start that has not gotten the attention it deserves. Let's see. This is a freebie on from Al Forest Embroidery. I think the color Autumn is what it's called, but I'm pulling it up. One sec. Or it's like Color Autumn Harvest, something like that. It's a freebie on Al Forest Embroidery's website. It does call for variegated floss using their special floss that they have. I am using the DMC conversion. It's called Pumpkin Color Autumn. It's stitched on 18 count Aida, full cross, and two strand full cross. So the whole thing will be about like that. This is very stiff Aida, geez Louise. That's as far as I've gotten on this one. Cute little pumpkins though. Again, this will probably be like a, I don't know, an autumn feeling type of. I'll pull it out eventually when I feel like stitching on something autumn. Because that's why it's in this this category, where it's just when I don't stitch on it all the time, but every once in a while I'll feel like stitching on it. So just the way it goes with a lot of my patterns these days, unfortunately. Okay, next up we have another very sad start. It's another sampler. Let me find the picture for it. Maybe. I think this one's also Blackwork Designs. Yes. Tiny tree tops. There we go. Again, a very sad start on this one. 14 count Fiddler's Aida, 2 strand, full cross, and not a very good start on it at all. Part of the mania where I just went a little bit crazy, kind of like in December. I think last year I just decided to go crazy on all of my patterns, where I started a bunch of things but only get like a tiny bit of progress on all of them. So now going through all my patterns and looking at all of them, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. I need to work on that. But it seems like that for like all of my patterns. So it's really sad. Okay, next up we have In This Moment, my little bag that I made. This is a Heaven Earth Designs pattern. I started this because I watched Jessie Does Stuff stitch and finish this, and it inspired me to get it as well. I love Jeremiah Kettner's artwork. Very, very pretty artwork. I do wish though, I think this one has stalled. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. I do think this one's stitching has stalled just because it's so big. It's such a really big pattern. I wish it was mini, but I don't want to have to pay to have a mini created. That's one thing I don't like about Heaven Art Designs, is there's only a mini or a supersized max color or any sort of alteration if someone pays for it to happen, which is kind of sucky, but it is what it is. So here's where I've gotten to so far. And last time I picked this up this last year, I think I only stitched it once or twice last year, and I just started stitching a little bit more of this flower stem. This one is a really hard one to stitch because it is confetti heavy in the background because of that watercolor look. So it's just, this one's definitely, you have to kind of be in the mood, and I don't want to get rid of it because I do love it. It's just, it's a not right now type of pattern with the kiddos. This is stitched on 22 count Hardanger 2/110 stitch. And yeah, so I only pulled it out like once or twice, which is so sad, but yeah, I really have to be picky on what I grab these days just because it's really hard to stitch on some things with kids. Okay. Next up, we have a very sad start. This is Winter Lace by Jan Hicks. I gotta pull up the pattern for you. I purchased this pattern such a long time ago, and I just recently got started. Seasons and Lace Winter is what this one is. Jan Hicks. Super pretty pattern. I am stitching this on 14 count Aida that I hand dyed myself. It's like a purplish, bluish color. It's not showing up very well on camera because it's purple. But I did start it. But I started this 10 stitch, and I don't think that's a good idea for this type of pattern. So I've been trying to figure out, do I just want to have it be quirky and silly and be 10 stitch, or do I really want to change it to be full cross? So I haven't stitched on it because I'm trying to decide that right now. Okay, next up we have another Heaven Art Designs pattern. This was a birthday purchase for me about 3 years ago, I want to say. I don't stitch on this one very often either. All of my Heaven Art Designs patterns are very neglected because of the younger kiddos, but as the kiddos get older, it will be easier to get them out and stitch on them. So this is a limited edition Magic Steady, the regular version. They have since come out with a rainbow version, which I believe Dawn Marie is stitching on. It's got some different details like rainbow butterflies and stuff that mine does not have, but I really like the version that I have. And I purchased this because I thought it was going to, it did disappear. I didn't know they were going to do a rainbow version. It was limited edition, and this is totally me. It's like a woman in a craft room with things everywhere, like every project known to man and book style. It's just, if I had a craft room, that's what it would look like. So this is stitched on 28 count even weave 2/110 stitch, and this is where I've gotten to so far. So last couple times I've picked this up this last year, I just started trying to fill in all these holes. So I used to stitch just wherever, like cross country, and have no care in the world where I stitch. Excuse me, but since then I have changed my style in that I like cross country, but I need a little bit of order as to what I stitch on because I get lost, especially on these 28 counts with kids. So I've just been trying to fill in all the holes on all of my Heaven Art Designs patterns so I can try and, do cross country by color, by block, kind of. A little bit of like a parking slash cross country style. So yeah, I've just been trying to fill in fill in all the holes. So this poor thing. And I think that is everything. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like that is everything for this container. We're gonna go ahead and pause. 2 seconds for you, a long time for me before doing the last container that I have out here. And then we will get started probably on part 2. I'll do one more container for this video, I think, and then we'll have to do a part 2 just for editing purposes. So I will be right back. Okay, we have teeny tiny awake from a nap, so we're gonna attempt to continue filming this video. We'll see. I might pause it if things get a little crazy. But next up, we are on our last container that we have out right now, and it's stamped kits that I stitch fairly frequently throughout the year. So, or stamped kits that I plan on stitching frequently this year. Either one. So this is the fairy that I ended up switching to once I found out my custom stamped fairy was not working out for me. Again, I will try and stitch on that one and try and finish that headdress, but in the meantime, this is the kit that I've gotten. And I am cropping this to where I'm only stitching like to the bottom of her wing to get rid of like all this extra that I don't necessarily need. But she's really pretty. She's like a wizard fairy, beautiful. And I love her, and I have stitched on her a fair bit this year. She's a 50 by 70 11 count stamped kit that I am doing completely 10 stitch, 6 strands. I've made it halfway across the top, and now I am going to be stitching down because I want to see this wing come to life. So I started stitching on the wing, and that's the reason why I continued going across. And now I'm going to start slowly going down. I did a ton of background, and now I'm tired of background, so I just need to see some details on her now. So that's where I'm at so far. Not very much for such a big kit, but I did start this year, so there is that. I think I started her this year. Let's change that to I think. I can't really keep track of like what I have and haven't started, to be honest with you. There's too many patterns to keep track of, and time flies way too quickly. Okay, next up, we have a pattern that I haven't stitched on a ton, but it has been calling to me a lot. So I did put her in this category. It's an 80 by 47, so she's a big one. But I have been thinking about cropping her as well. So I'm not quite sure if I want to or not. That's the problem. So as of right now, I started this like section right above her head, and I'm working towards her face, and I've just got her face done. But I don't know if I want to crop out all of this background or if I want to keep it and just have it be kind of like a serene like scenery. I'm not sure. So I think that's why I haven't stitched on her, but she has been calling to me. So I need to decide, or just continue stitching her since she'll be in every decision that I make anyway. It is super large, and I am stitching this 10 stitch. So here's the whole thing, super big. Let me move all the threads out of her face. So this is what her face looks like. Her face is not finished. There are some missing stitches in her forehead, her hair, her nose, lips, and the side of her face. But I did enough of the face to determine that it is enough detail for wanting to continue stitching her. So I will continue her, and like I said, I have been wanting to stitch her. I just can't decide if I want to crop her or not. So I do need to get her out because she is a really good stamped kit, nice and crisp. And she's beautiful. I mean, look at her. She's so pretty. Elf, fairy. Oh, it's my jam. I'm a fantasy type of girl. Next up, we have another, actually, I don't think this was a custom kit. I think I found this kit on AliExpress a long time ago, and then I could never find it again. So when I saw it pop up again, I had to buy it. This is a 60 by 80. This picture does not do it justice, so let me find you the picture. Really? So here is the pattern picture. I am very into like the 1850s-ish era and old Victorian homes and castles and fantasy and just yeah, I just love it. Like an English drawing room, English library. Just thinking about it. Anyway, so that's where this pattern has come from. And I haven't stitched on her a ton. Oh no! He threw his food. Again, this is a very big kit. I haven't stitched on it very much. I had just discovered 10 stitch when I started stitching on it, and I wanted to start stitching the woman to see if she would have enough detail, and just the small amount that I have stitched, I can see that it is going to be enough of detail. I mean, she is mostly just the silhouette of her, but here she is. If I can get this to stay, there we go. Here she is. So it is looking good on camera so far. Of course, I only have maybe 100 stitches into her, so not very much. See, not very much at all. But I did put her in this category because I do want to get more of this piece finished this year. So she is in my to be stitched category. Yeah, I know. All right, next up, I actually haven't stitched this one, I think maybe once last year, which is why it's in this category, because I want to stitch on it a little bit more this year. This is Hogwarts Emblem. This pattern, I'm actually not stitching any of the black around it. I want it to be white behind everything, but however, I will be doing the black inside the emblem. So everything inside the emblem will be black and then white around all of the flowers. I think that will make the flowers pop more, and then I don't have to stitch all that black. Because who wants that? Not me. So this was stitched full cross just until recently. The last time I picked it up, I started converting it over to 10 stitch, just because that's me now. So here's the full thing. It's a 40 by 50, and yeah, the 10 stitch is down here in some of this black, some of the black here, and these flowers around the outside is now converted over to 10 stitch. You can't really tell. I mean, maybe if I hold it up like right here, you can see the difference between the full cross and the tent. But back here, you can't tell. And I love the vibrant colors of this pattern, which is why, yeah, it's in this category. Oh no, you threw your milk too. What are you doing, you silly? Alright, here's another watercolor girl that I have. Super pretty. This one was gifted over to me. She is a 40 by 50. Yeah, absolutely stunning. I haven't done enough on her though. So that's again why she's in this category. I tend to want to like work on her. So here she is in this category. We've got her fingers done last year, and she has not been converted over. No, she just got converted over to 10 stitch. That was the last time I worked on her. But you can't tell when you hold her back here, and she needs some love. So I have her in this box to get worked on. Again, 40 by 50, and she is stitched 10 stitch. Alright, next up we have, so I had purchased a Joy Sunday Hogwarts Castle. I decided I wasn't liking how that one was stitching up, even though I've seen someone else stitch it. And so I decided to get this version, which is a darker, more vibrant version of that pattern. I haven't stitched on it very much, but I definitely want to. I'm a little nervous though, because I think this pattern's supposed to have back stitching. Oh, I mean, it is supposed to have back stitching. You can see the back stitching around the roof and stuff. So I just don't know how it's gonna look without that back stitching. So that's why I've been a little hesitant on working on this one. But so far so good. I haven't done a ton, maybe about 200-300 stitches so far. So yeah, I definitely want to stitch some more on this one. It is a 40 by 50 stitched, fully tent stitch on this one using 6 strands. Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Next up, crinkling. I haven't switched this one over to a regular bag yet, and this one did not come with a very good pattern photo. So this one is this beautiful stunner with little phoenix in the corner. And I gotta go help Teeny Tiny. Hold on. Okay, so here is the pattern picture. I haven't got a ton done on her, but I had to. So I have another pattern that's kind of the same series of her that I started, and the face looks like a zombie, so you'll see her later. But I had to do her to check on her face to see if she would be good, because her sister is not. So it is a 50 by 65, so this one is a fairly large pattern. And there is her face. So I am happy with her face. Yeah, I am happy with her face. She doesn't look like a zombie. I do need to blend in some of that purple though to be like a purplish pink, I feel like. But I think I'll do that after I'm completed the rest of the kit. But for now, she's good enough. She's got a good enough amount of detail in her face that I don't feel like I've spent all of this time on her and she only looks like a zombie. And if the camera shakes, it's because Teeny Tiny is out and about and he loves the camera. So yes, here we go. Let's eat the rest of it. Here, there you go. Okay, so sorry if don't get motion sickness. Okay. Oh, are you all done? Okay, you can't have any of my needle minders. You can have the clip. There you go. Okay, we're almost done, or almost have to be done for this one. Okay, next up we have this pattern. I originally unboxed this and they sent me a counted on accident. So they sent me a new one, a new stamped. And I have done a little bit, but the stamping isn't the greatest. It's a little bit fuzzy, kind of like that Lord of the Rings one is. Not quite as bad as that, but definitely not like the greatest. So I haven't done a ton, but I did get started on the kitty cat and her eye, and a little bit of the background. This was the very first stamped kit that I tried 10 stitching on, and I was like, this looks like garbage. But with 10 stitching, you have to stitch a fair bit in order to be able to actually see the detail. When you first get the kit started, it looks really bad. You can see like all of the spaces behind there, but once you fill in the whole like area, it doesn't look like that. So that's what I've learned. So anyway, I just started her eyebrow, her face, and started on the kitty cat, and that's pretty much where I've gotten to so far on her. But I do want to stitch more on her. She's 40 by 50 and completely tent stitch. What are you doing? Okay, so here is that zombie piece I was just talking about. I don't have the pattern picture with me. It's in my room. I was talking to someone else about her. but let me find her picture. So she's stunning. I love this pattern, but her face is a little bit on the smaller side for a stamped kit, which I should have known better. I should have known better. You know, if you want a face to show up on a stamped kit, you need the face to be a little bit larger. And so I should have started with her face instead of putting so much time and effort into this kit. Everything else is looking really good. I just need to fix her face. And I've already taken out some colors and blended some of the colors in with a different color, but she still needs a little bit more work. But I have fixed some of her. So here's the whole thing. She is fairly large. She's a 50 by 60. Oh, 50 by 57. Oh no, 50 by 75. There we go. So she is very large. I have gotten this wing done. You can see the rainbow in the wing. The background's beautiful. I have her scepter done, her halo, but her face, like her neck is just too dark and she has no chin. Like her chin. So this is the part that I ripped out and blended, but I think I need to blend it a little bit more with just lighter colors in general. So here's what she looks like from far behind, and to me I think she looks like a total zombie, which stinks because I've put a lot of time into this kit. So I'm gonna continue stitching her, but I definitely need to change her neck and her face. Yeah, that's funny, huh? Zombies are funny. So yeah, I need to rip out some more of her and continue fixing her until she's to my liking, because I don't want to trash her. I love her. She's just on a very big timeout right now. Yeah. All right. I think I'm gonna have to pause right there. This might have to be part 3 or like a 3-part series because there's just too much still. I've only done half of this container, and editing purposes, I have a hard time uploading anything that's like over an hour, and I think we're over that right now. So I'm gonna stop right there for this part 1. We will continue the next video or the unboxing with part 2. I have a feeling there's going to be 3 parts. We'll just have to see. But thank you all so much for joining me on this video and with this Wip Parade. Sorry it's so late, but better late than never. I hope you all stay safe, stay warm, and take care. Bye.